I would like to invite the panelists for the second panel discussion, the digitalization game, where the obstacles for turning Serbia digital. First of all, I would like to invite Minister of Finance, Mr. Siniša Mali. Also, I would like to invite Mr. Taavi Kotka, the founder of Proud Engineers and the former Chief of Information Officer in the Government of Estonia. And I would like to invite Mr. Vladimir Lučić, the Coordinator for Internet and Multimedia in Telekom Group Serbia. As you see, thank you very much. As you see, we have another interesting panel in front of us that will last probably somewhere around 50 minutes. Pay close attention, because now we're going to hear the introductory speech, the keynote from Taavi Kotka. Taavi, the stage is yours.
Hello. Yeah. So I'm an engineer, and my presentation will be from the engineer perspective. So, like, I started as a programmer, built up. I was a part of the company who built up the largest software engineering company in our region. We also invested in Serbia, into Serbia, 2006-2007, I think, and the company is still here, operating. So we are the long-term investors in Serbia. But I sold my shares in 2012, and after that became a government officer, which is a huge shame, because if you're 33 and totally healthy, you don't work for the government in my country. But that's not the things we talk about. Like, so today's point is digital societies and how should we categorize them. So basically, the countries in the world, from the digitalization perspective, are divided into two large groups. The countries who actually feel pain to make that change happen, and the countries who actually don't feel that pain. So, for example, Switzerland is a country who doesn't feel the pain. I mean, trains are moving, life is good, so why we need to digitalize? Yes, we need to digitalize private enterprises, that we understand, but society, I mean, there are privacy concerns, etc. Why should we? Japan is considered a very advanced country. Yes, industrially, yeah, they are very digitally advanced. If you look at how the government operates, or like how the people need to operate inside the society every day, they are very, very low level. So that's one of the separation part. So the second thing is that even if you want to digitalize, the question is, like, what is your focus? And there are basically two main questions, like how to get life more hassle-free for the people, and all the e-government and all those topics go there. But that's the basic. That's like hygiene. That needs to be there anyway. It's a more interesting question and challenge. How complicated questions can you answer? Can you tell how many people are in Serbia with 1 second? Can you tell how the things what you teach in the 5th grade influence your salary after the university? Can you, just looking at the genome data, predict breast cancer and invite ladies to come for control before they even know that, oh, there might be a problem? I mean, those are the real challenges of digital society. And it's never about e-government. So when you start talking about digital society and digitalization and focus on e-government, you're already wrong. People don't use government services. Do you know how many times people use government services per year? In average, if you don't include healthcare in. 2.6 times. And one of them is taxes. How many times during your lifetime you apply for a construction permit? How many times during your lifetime you apply for a driving license? Is there a thing that you can call user experience in government services? That's not the point. Open data is important, but it's not so important. especially in small countries. Open data doesn't work in small countries, and Serbia is a small country. The whole Nordics together is 20 million people, and even for us, open data doesn't work. It works in large societies like US or UK or Germany that operate in the same language also, but in small ones. So it's not the top priority. The good news is that building digital society from the engineering perspective is a straightforward game. So it's not like, oh, those countries have one type of digital society and those other countries, they have other type of digital society. No, they are all 100% the same, especially from the engineering perspective. So basically, if we open up the system, if we put the hand in the machine and look, let's say, the tables in the population registry in China or in Sweden, they are 99% the same. Yes, the way how the data is used, the way how the society is controlled, etc., that's different. But technically, from the engineer perspective, if you, let's say, you're a constructor, it's the same. Just do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there are 126 steps. And done. Takes 20 years. You just have to believe. But there are quite many countries already who have achieved that. So just rely on their experience. So, for example, one of the most important questions in digital society is to solve who is behind the device. So if you want companies, enterprises, if you want more e-shops, you want to push companies to be more digital, today, everybody needs to start from the scratch. Sign up page. Signing up for the new service. Yes, this is Taavi Kotka wants to use this service. And now if everybody needs to do that, you can multiply the cost. But what if the society actually solves the problem together? Let's say banks together with the government, like they did in Sweden. Or government itself, like they did in Estonia or China. Let's solve that question in a way that if you have your own digital identity, none of those enterprises need to create their own, user creation and then KYC and all that power. Or the second thing, you need to get the data moving. I know you have those kind of things in place already in Serbia, but you actually truly need to get things moving. So you have to define that, in every country, the silos remain. The fact that you have a digital government doesn't mean that you will remove the silos. No, the silos will remain. The silos stay as kingdoms, but you can force them and manage them in a way that they become a single source of truth, and the data truly starts to move. The beauty of the e-prescription, for example, is a very good example. It's one of the easiest things to understand. This is actually a picture for politicians. It looks good. In Estonian case, the real picture is this one. It looks messy, but it's not. We actually know all the lines and green dots there. Okay, it should be green. You can see that. But that's just an example. Think if everything can be connected. The healthcare data can be connected with income. The income can be connected with, I don't know, where you work and how you work and how you were educated, etc. Think that everything, even the information that doesn't exist today, that exists tomorrow, will be instantly included and integrated in the whole digital society. And it's always not government. Government is I think 20%, or even less. And 80% is the private sector. For example, if you want to do fully automated taxes, what it means, it's easy to understand here in Serbia. What it means is that the bank needs to send that information to the government so government can basically pre-fill the tax declaration. So how to do that from the engineering perspective? You have a customer in a bank database, and you have a customer in a government database. Let's say it's John Smith. John Smith, John Smith. How can we say it's the same John Smith? Easy. They both have this social security ID or national ID, whatever you have here. And if it's the same in bank and in the government system, we can connect that data. So it's a basic database engineering. And now a question, how many countries in the world actually can do that? Combine the bank data with the government data. In US? No. In Germany? No. In UK? No. In Canada? No. In Japan? No. Australia? No. In China? Yes. Nordic? Yes. Eastern Europe? Yes. And that's it's a so fundamental problem that we can give big slogans and we can talk about digitalization and stuff, but Germany, until you haven't solved the problem that private sector uses the same kind of unique identifier about the person, you can never connect your data with the government data. So you can never start data moving between these two systems. So how digitally advanced you are now? Yeah, in the tops, yeah. But truly, let's talk about engineers. You give me a task like combine this information, make me pre-filled tax declaration. How the hell am I going to do that? And it takes 15 years for Germany to reach the same situation where China is or Nordics is today. 15 years already, just because of a tiny engineering problem. So that's how we should see the digital world. Where is the computer? There. Oh. So connecting everything, and obviously raises the question of privacy. And that's one of the areas where digitally advanced countries are actually also will be divided into two different groups. So there is a China on the other side. So everything is connected, so we can rate people, we can give them scores, and if they don't behave normally, we can stop them, let's say, buying train tickets, etc. We all laugh. What kind of society it is, rates people? Do you know your Uber score? Last year, in the end of last year, I just noticed my Uber score is 4.6. And I was like, what? What? I'm a normal person. I don't shout on drivers or I carry my own suitcase and stuff. Why in 4.6? But I spent a couple of weeks in US. And if you don't tip US Uber drivers, you get ones. How is this different compared with this? The system basically rates me and pushes me to a better behavior towards the taxi drivers. So there is no difference, actually, so much difference between the China and the rest. Or this one. This country talks about privacy, and we can't give unique identifiers, and we can't combine different databases together because it's a privacy concern. Really? Google knows more about my health than my doctor. If you get the funky disease from Thailand, my friend got it. So what do? You Google it. They can predict our behavior even without knowing us, that we actually had that problem. So privacy needs to be redefined. And I'm happy that at least the North Europe, now also thanks to North Europe influence European Union through GDPR, and I hope also India soon, we'll start to see that the data belongs actually to the person. So whatever, yes, everything is connected, but it's connected only if I want to participate, if I give a consent. So it means that I have a full control over my data. In Estonia, all hospitals are connected, all doctors can see my data, but I also can see who has looked at my data. If there is a misusage, a person is sentenced for 3 years. So that's why you control it. So you get the data moving, but on the same time, you give the control to the people. And that's how it should be built. So I'm not ashamed to show to you that this is my unique identifier. Use it. Try to attack me. Try to cyber attack me. In Germany, they cover it. In US, they actually, if I show this slide, they go insane. Because you all have credit cards, right? In the credit card, behind the credit card, there's a 3-digit number. That's called security. Let me laugh. If I give this to you, you can harm me. You can buy stuff from the internet. if I give this to you, you can't harm me. So you actually can build normal digital tools with a proper cryptology and security. So, okay, it's more complicated. I only got 20 minutes, so I have to be...
Well, you have 5 to 10.
I have 5, yeah. Okay. So I just chose a couple of interesting trends. After you have finished your e-government and the digital society basic things, like what are the next interesting things that happen if you get the data moving and the systems up and running? First of all, data ownership and data market. I mean, they say that data is an asset. They say that data is a new oil. How many of you actually has earned any, I don't know, dollars or euros by selling your data? Physically, money on your account. I gave data, money reached my bank account. Raise your hand. Oh, you have. Great. We have one. Let's talk about like what data was like. So the question is like value or oil to whom? And can I actually monetize my data? So if I move around the city, I create my location data, Apple collects that. Who was the author of who owns the intellectual property of that movement? Me or the device? So it's broken. The system is broken, and at least in Europe and in India, we see that that's a future trend that people actually can start selling their data. It gives another 15 minutes lecture to how it works. So I don't waste time here. So the second, I think more interesting for Serbia is real-time economy. So one of the beautiful things when you get data moving, instead of doing political decisions just through emotion or like public popularity, you can start relying more on data. That's one of the areas where we struggle in Estonia. We have a huge amount of data. Like basically, we could see that how, like, let's say money or investments have moved from one region in Estonia to another region, from one industry to another industry. We could basically localize that in an aggregated way and understand, let's say, in South Estonia, we also struggle with salaries and stuff, like how to influence that. We could do all that. But the problem is that our political system is still, how to say, old-fashioned, popular-based, not so much science and data-based. But the beauty is there and the data is there, so we just wait and try to educate our society how to get more, I'll say, knowledgeable decisions out of that. So you say that we should invest into the healthcare, or you say we should invest into the education. Where and why and how much? Which investments gives the biggest effect? Okay, we don't know, let's try. Let's make an investment here to this region, and let's measure it continuously 6 months. Oh, it didn't work. Roll it back. Or it worked. Okay, let's multiply it. So you can actually start running the country in a totally different way if you have that kind of transparency and connectivity. And finally, one of my favorites. So if you question yourself and if you say that, oh, life is good and there is no pain and like maybe Serbia also doesn't have to change, there's a warning sign. And the warning sign comes from history. So do you remember how you bought music 20 years ago? What was it? CDs, yes, that's the red one here in the screen. So it was CDs. And it replaced cassette, which was a nightmare. Like, remember listen to the second side B song, like, so. And the quality. It was top quality. I mean, the quality of CD was very good. So why the hell we don't buy CDs anymore? They're very expensive. Like, I mean, if you actually bought the legal one, like. But even if you liked only one song, you had to buy the whole album. So get the 100-song decent playlist legally costed you 1,500 euros, something like that, and just 100 songs. So it's insane. It was a broken model. Now you pay $5.99 to Spotify and per month, and like you have all the music in the world. Or like if you're willing to listen to our advertisements, you don't like have to pay at all. So what happened with CD stores? They were in every corner in the city. So what happens with them? Broke. Do you care? Do you care that your fellow countrymen and women couldn't sell CDs anymore? You don't care. It's a business, and now you are out of business. Right? If something is more convenient, cheaper, easier to use, people will go for it. And if somebody else suffers because of that, that's her or his problem. Right? We're humans. So keep that in mind. This is a share price of Nokia. Finland is our neighbor country, so we always, if possible, we do it. So 10 years ago, like 12 years ago, they were #1 in the world. Today, I don't even have a scale here, it's somewhere. So with less than 5 years from the hero to zero. So if change happens, it happens so rapidly that you can't stop it. Do you really think that the way how countries are run, or like what kind of, like, say, business environment you offer to the people in a country, it won't be disrupted? That this area will be one that never will be touched. Healthcare will be disrupted, taxes are already disrupted, etc. But the e-government, it stays like. I started with this challenge, how to get my nation population from 1.3 million up to 10 million. Because if you want to get more wealth to your people, you need to get more customers connected with your economy. So from 1.3, we have to get to 10. So how do you do that? Babies. Those are mine. I have one more, so it doesn't help a lot. So to get from 1.3 to 10. And my wife is actually closed the shop, and so finished. So that's not the way how to get 10. Immigration, yes, that has been a solution for US, UK, Germany, Sweden, and others. My country, for us, it's not a solution. Compared with you, we have another problem. Nobody wants to come. So we are far north, and like it's cold, and like there are way better countries next to us, like Sweden and Norway, so, and with a better social guarantees, so they go there. So if physically people don't want to join with my country, can I use an alternative way? Can I connect them virtually? Because in the end of the day, if you're a businessman, think about buying CDs and stuff. If you're a businessman, the only thing you care about is that, is it easy to run? How much it costs? Is there like differentiation compared if I run it from here in Serbia or like in European Union? And then you calculate, and then you do your decision. We created this program for the countries outside of European Union. We have many e-residents from Serbia. But we currently have most of e-residents from European Union. And we were like, from Germany. Why? Why Germans, why you connect with my country? You are inside European Union. You are the European Union. If you don't agree, nothing happens. So why you are part of our society? Bureaucracy. It costs up to 6,000 euros per year for a German single entrepreneur to run like one-man and dog company. It costs less than 1,000 in Estonia with no reporting obligations or anything. Like everything is taken care of. 75 euros per month, all the reports, all the tax declarations, like everything is taken care of. 5,000 and hassle, 1,000 and no hassle. Interesting choice. And now think what happens with the CD store. So if you think that, there's time and no worries, think about next generations. Your X, Y, and Z generation will choose also what is closest to their skin. And if it's easier to open a company in Dubai and run it from distance because of digital signature, or in Netherlands, or in China, together with access to Chinese market, you're screwed. That's it. I have more slides, but time's up. So, Want to do it? Just do it. Want the playbook? Call me. I will send it to you. Thank you.
Mr. Kotka, that was a lot of fun for everyone here, I think. Well, now we move to serious questions about Serbian government. I'm kidding. The first question for you, Minister, is you heard of the necessity of the digitalization process. You know that the Prime Minister is basically promoter of the overall digital transformation. Do we have a finance to follow it? Does the budget reflect that strategic goal of the Serbian government?
Well, that's a very good question. First of all, I would just like to thank you for having this opportunity to participate in this panel. Before I answer it, I just want to put it into the perspective as to what the whole digitalization effort means for Serbia. We were not able to talk about this in 2012, 2013, the way we are talking about it now. At that point of time, we had problems in terms of our public finances. We had no money in the budget for pensions or salaries, let alone talking about digitalization and making sure people can live much easier that way. And things changed, and I'm very happy about that. And to also just a joke, when I talked to Anna, and I've been the Minister of Finance for the last 2 years, we had 2 budget processes and 1 supplementary budget. And whenever I think I'm pretty much finished with, with all of the expenses and all of the investments, then I get a call from Anna, and she always says, listen, just think about this investment in the IT industry. This is just one more thing that we need to do, which shows how dedicated she is to this, and she is actually the force behind this. And yes, the answer is we have money for digitalization. Just one example, the IT office, their budget this year compared to last year is 50% higher. 50%, and Anna was saying about 100 million euros currently being invested in the IT infrastructure. But what's important here, and I'll finish with this, is the education. And when we talk about the education, I think people, both businesses and individuals, need to first and foremost understand what are the benefits of the digitalization process. In my humble opinion, usually it's always something vague or something too far away, but it's not. In terms of businesses, and I'll talk more about this during the course of this panel, I think it's very important that through digitalization, companies will get their VAT back in no time. That through digitalization, we're going to be able to alleviate customs procedures and to make them as a single window procedure as well, to speed up the process of goods and services going back and forth. I think this is very important for the businesses to understand. For individuals as well. Now things have changed, priorities have changed. People have higher salaries, more and more have more financial means. Now they want to make sure that their life is much simpler, much easier, and they actually get their services or get their problems solved over the internet, online. So we are here, we are very well positioned. As I said yesterday, our GDP is expected to grow at around 4% per annum. In 5 years from today, so 2025, we expect our GDP to be 73 billion, to double 10 years down the road. And it cannot happen without the digitalization effort. And that's why I'm thankful for the opportunity to be present at this panel and to learn something.
Thank you for the clear answer. Before we move to Mr. Lučić, the Twitter questions work actually. And I already got interesting one for Mr. Kotka. So, please, can you just elaborate while we are talking about e-government and government? Is this e-government necessarily means centralization? Or is it quite opposite?
First of all, I don't want to talk about e-government at all.
Okay.
Because why to talk about something that is less than 20% compared with something that is more than 80%? So I just wanted to add, before I answer this, the budget question, if you look at the successful cases of digital societies in the world, there are only 2 ways they have happened. One, using force, like in Arabic countries and China, or B, thanks to the private sector. So, I mean, for example, the question, who is behind the device? How can I trust that behind the device is exactly that person? That's a problem basically every private sector enterprise who offers e-services has that problem. So why should we wait government to do something instead of collaborating with government, offering, let's say, we would like to make this kind of solution together, and basically we need help with policy making. So just you do the policy, we do the rest. Sweden did it in this way. Denmark did it in this way. Finland did it in this way. Even from Estonia, we did it this way. So because the national card that is given out by the government, it needs a computer. But in the time of this, who uses computer? So all those tools here are built by private sector. You just have to proper regulation in place, and that's copied from Sweden or copied from Finland. That's easy. So that's why I say the private sector is, when we talk about digitalization, we shouldn't look at the Prime Minister or Minister of Finance. We should look at big telecoms. We should look at big banks. If they don't play along, nothing happens. Why? Because people use their services every day, and the government service is only 2.6 times per year. So if something is 2.6 times, you don't get the habit to use it, if you refer to the previous presenter. So if telcos, and they have to play together. So now answering the e-government question, I'm a big fan of decentralization. And why? Because it's proven in private sector. If you think about what governments need to do, they need to do the same reform, let's say, what BMW did 15 years ago. 15 years ago, BMW had separate logistics systems, CRM, accounting, billing, parts, etc. So when you bought the car, you never know if you actually had it in the stock or not, because there were two different systems. And then they started from scratch and started that every system is a single source of truth. Logistics data only in logistics, customer data only in accounting. Building this kind of, let's say, independent single source of truths, which is decentralization, actually. So I'm a big believer in that, and that actually works. So countries need to do the same thing what private sector did 15 years ago. Again, copy, paste.
Well, if I may just add to this, I think you're right to the point, but I think it's a two-way street. Yes, the private sector should be the one in the lead, but then again, you cannot do it without the support of the government. Simply, you do not want to have the government as an obstacle to your initiatives in the private sector. And we were fortunate, I think, to start talking about this in the right time, when we had money also to push the investments into the infrastructure especially, and to show support for the private sector to, invest even more. I remember discussions you probably know, we implemented the IP box and all of the other incentives from the taxation point of view, which are very favorable to the whole ICT community here. But we did it together with Digital Serbia, so with civil societies, with the IT cluster from Vojvodina, etc. So we did talk and we did listen to the private sector. We have so many smart people here, but it's imperative, in my humble opinion, that you also have a possibility to listen and to implement in your government policy what the private sector is saying. And again, it's a two-way street. I'm glad that I think in Serbia, at this point of time, we do have the synergetic effect from both the private and the government sector.
And the chamber will work on that.
And the Chamber of Commerce, of Serbia, of course.
Well, I think we should address the private sector, or at least Telecom, as a representative of the private sector and telecommunication company. It's so many talks about 5G, Internet of Things. I should add up artificial intelligence as probably a much more important thing that's happening. Can you enlighten us, in a sense, where is the Telecom now? Have you set up the base for this kind of transformation?
Well, actually, first of all, thank you for the invitation. The fact is that 5G, together with artificial intelligence, IoT, and machine learning, will definitely significantly change the society. And telecommunication operator will play a really important role. Good quality of 5G network and the large number of optical fiber users will be a key basis for development of this digital society. I can tell you that I'm really optimistic when I see the situation in Serbia. I will tell you Why? First of all, we expect auction for 5G license at the end of this year or early next year. Secondly, when I saw the result of that Ratel made last year with about quality of the 4G networks, it shows that quality of 4G networks of all three operators are really excellent. So this means that all three operators invest already heavily in new 4G sites and in optical fiber to connect these sites. And so the first phase of 5G development usually is based on these sites, because on that site, these sites you can just add some antenna or just additional equipment. So that first phase of development of 5G network will be done really in a fast way. And definitely we will not be in delay with some other countries.
Thank you for that outlook. Minister, a lot of different ministries, agencies are pushing up for digitalization on their own part. Do you feel that there is synergy in all that government is doing?
Yes, I do. And I think that, first of all, everything is done under the umbrella of the Prime Minister's cabinet, which is very important. So we basically coordinate all of the policies. But then each and every ministry does its own job or its own work in terms of the respective area. I'm not going to talk about the health and education, but I'll talk about the finance, because in my area we have two important institutions, which is the tax authority and the customs. And for tax authority, Taavi, for you, just to know, our consultant in the reform of the tax authority is the former head of the Finnish tax authority, Pekka Rukonen. Maybe you know him, but doesn't matter. He's a great guy, and actually we are learning a lot, especially from this area of the world, how you guys done it, and we are trying to implement the same thing here. So, for example, the tax authority reform, it goes in both, or actually it goes in two ways. One is the core reform of the way the tax authority works in terms of introducing more software, more hardware, more of those processes that are streamlining the work. And secondly is something that we expect to do this year, which is the fiscalization. So we are introducing new points of sale devices that are going to be able in real time to share information with the tax authority and with other relevant authorities in terms of the revenues, in terms of the business of respective entrepreneurs. So it is going to make our life much easier. Then again, also the core competence of the tax authority, if we implement the whole thing in a proper manner, will be able to return the VAT tax, which is one of the biggest requests by the business community, in no time. They're now waiting, 10, 20, 15, 25 days. But, if we implement this system in a proper way, you're going to see the real benefit of the digitalization in the tax administration. On the other hand, as for the customs, you're all aware of this mini Schengen initiative that we are putting together. So we have already adopted all of the decisions which are needed to make sure that between us, Northern Macedonia, Albania, there is a single window. So basically, services and goods are going to flow seamlessly across the borders. And I think this is the right way how to show the digitalization and their effects on everyday life in terms of business people, at least.
Mr. Kotka?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, to those reforms. First of all, you have a great expert on board, and I think your systems will be fantastic. But there is there's a problem of pain. If you want to make the change happen, there has to be pain, and if there is no pain, nothing happens. So the reason why Japan is not so developed on the government side is not that they don't want. They actually don't want to pay taxes. So if you automate all this, if you make it all transparent, you can't bribe a computer. So which means that there will be, change in society. Tax and customs starts to find companies who cheat with taxes because of AI and robots. My country is the most efficient tax collector in the world. And I'm proud because it also means that we can keep our taxes lower because we are so efficient collecting those taxes from everybody. Estonia is twice smaller than Latvia, but we collect more taxes in absolute numbers than Latvians. And the taxes are actually lower. So, I mean, and now if the society doesn't want that, then the Minister of Finance can jump from one leg to another, change won't be accepted. So it's very important that you like, on the same time when you do these reforms, you are consistent, like 6, 7 years, 8 years, and it has to be publicly explained all the time. For example, if everybody starts to pay taxes, we can actually promise to lower certain tax, for example. So I mean, that's a very important thing that many countries who have started those reforms have failed because they are missing this, like that you have to educate the population. They have, like you said in the beginning, like so they have missed that.
Does it mean that it's crucial that, for example, in Estonia, the president of Estonia was actually one of the biggest promoters of what was happening there, and we kind of face the same situation here?
Definitely.
Mr. Lučić, what I'm wondering is, because you work in a big company, and we see that the changes of the structure of how the business works now, not every big company has their own research and development.
Yes.
Do you rely more and more on small, innovative companies? And is it a trend for the future?
Oh, more or less it is trend, but because for small company it's much easier to transform. But anyway, I just want to mention maybe one basic mistake that all big companies now are, let's say, one really big mistake. I have to repeat now that we are discussing now about industrial revolution, not only about some simple digital transformation. And usually big companies are thinking that it's only some kind of digital transformation that will help to increase efficiency of the current products and services. So all companies, small and big, first must to heavily investigate whether these current products or services will survive for industrial revolution. And that example with Nokia phones and CDs are really, it's good examples of some products that they didn't survive. And the telco industry is really a good example of that. For example, we have 4 products that are offering to our customers: voice, SMS, internet, and pay TV. 2 of these products will not survive future, SMS and voice. We will not have any revenue from these 2 services in the future. Even now we have more than 50% of revenue from these 2 services. So the 3rd and 4th, internet and pay TV, will survive. And in that way we transform our company, let's say, in 2 ways. First of all, to increase number of subscribers in that 2 services that will survive, internet and pay TV. And because of that, we made the fast acquisition of cable operators, fast development of optical fiber. We launched satellite pay TV, and we increased almost for double this number of customers. And in the second part, we will try to find new revenue streams. And basically, we will be focused on the content and new digital services. And more or less, we will have again 4 basic products. But then SMS and voice we will replace with content and digital services. In digital services, we already opened one ICT hub in Podgorica. We will open this year in Belgrade, and we will try with the small companies to find and to develop some together digital services that we will offer and we will sell around the world.
Thank you. Care to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that absolutely right that digitalization cannot be a goal. It's a tool. Like, so the goal needs to be something else, that we want to be more efficient, etc. But I really wanted to emphasize just one example: digital signature. Like, physical signature replaced with digital ones. In my society, we sign digitally more than physically. I mean, how much can you earn from that? Like, it's a small, tiny thing. There is one company in the world that focuses on digital signature. It's called DocuSign. It's a US company, cryptology crap, but like people use it. Do you know what's the value of the company? 13.5 billion USDs. Just one function, digital signature, and company value 13.5 billion. So there are businesses.
We'll take that.
Yeah, take it.
After this. Well, to end up this round discussion before we open the floor, Minister, is the public-private partnership crucial for all these processes? So, not a business, you cannot make it without government, and then government is also impossible to make it through the digital transformation without companies.
I think it is, absolutely. And as we actually discussed, I don't think one can go without the other, and vice versa. We were fortunate enough in Serbia, Taavi, you probably already know this, have very smart people, very entrepreneurial people, especially in the ICT industry. And I said it a couple of minutes ago when we talked about the IP box and other initiatives. We talked to Digital Serbia, we talked to other IT clusters as well, just to make sure that whatever we are doing actually makes sense. And we are here to listen. You rightfully said, you don't have to talk to the Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance to make sure that digitalization happens, but it's good that we are ready to listen and to understand, and then to implement whatever advice we get from the civil sector and from entrepreneurs like this. There are two examples I would just like to add right now, because there are two laws that we adopted last year, and that were actually based on the feedback and or the push we got from companies and businesses, which is the public procurement law, for example. It is a revolutionary, so that as of 1st of July this year, you guys are going to have only electronic public procurement processes through the portal, more competition, more transparency. One of the ways that the government can show how we support the competition, but also how we can support the digitalization process. And the other is the new accounting law. And someone will think, yeah, it's a very boring law, you know, accountants, this or that. But that accounting law stipulates that as of January 1st, 2022, we're only going to have e-invoices or e-invoicing. So no more papers, no more, you know, stamps or, you know, sending, faxing, this or that, but only e-invoices. And basically it was the feedback when we talked to the Chamber of Commerce, you know, various other associations, learning what needs to be changed. And the idea for all of us is simply to push our economy further, our society further. I think we are on the right path. I can only thank Anna for her initiative in that respect. And we can only do better in the future. But again, small steps do make a difference. And you're right, the digitalization should be a tool. And the goal should be a better quality of living and better society that we are building right now in Serbia. Thank you.
Thank you. We are stopping here at this point, and I'm going to open the floor. If here we have a first question, please.
Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Dejan Cvetković. I'm a proud Serbian, proud Estonian. And I'm not asking the question on behalf of any technology company. Taavi, and this is the question for Taavi and for the panel to elaborate as well. 10 years ago, I saw many countries building data centers. As the time goes by, countries are not building data centers at all. The data centers are becoming those CDs that you were talking about. And people are becoming less and less concerned about data sovereignty and trust. Taavi, what's your aspect of trust in the digital world, especially given the fact that you wanted all of your Estonian data out of Estonia? Why?
Yeah, okay. Complicated question, thank you. First of all, I have quickly answer why we wanted data out of Estonia, and not all of it, but the main one. Main ones. We have a very, I'll say, I can say aggressive neighbor, and it's not Latvia. And so the country has been occupied in every century, and not still this century, but we have had at least a war every century. And also we have had a war this year. Not this year, but this century. We had 2007 cyber war with Russia. And if your society becomes very dependent on digitalization and like digital tools, like you have to be ready for cyber attacks, you have to be ready for natural disasters, you have to be ready for occupation. Like all those things are on the table. And the question is like, whatever it happens, how can you restore what you had before? Or if in a cyber war case, how can you run your stuff outside from your country and still provide services to the society? So it's a totally different game. Totally different like problems start to happen when your country is totally digital. They're not your problems at the moment, but you will have them like, let's say, 10 years from now. So that was the reason why we looked for the like ways how to keep data outside of the country. Another thing was, you saw me showing my ID card, and I wasn't ashamed of that because I know the math and security behind that. So again, for me, it doesn't matter where the data locates. For me, more matters what is the math, how the data is encrypted, how it's kept, and do I believe in that math or not? So, like, basically, those are criteria for me. Because on the same time, I know I could never hire for the government services. I could never hire an like IT team and motivate them with like money to keep my, I'll say, servers patched, everything according to the highest security levels, etc. Like, I can't afford that. So that's why we looked out, and we looked out for different partners in the world. Our first partner was 2009, Amazon. So we started in 2009 with that.
Super, thanks. Here you are.
Thank you, Marta. The elections in Serbia are approaching, and Estonia is famous for doing these elections online for ages, almost. So would you recommend this as a process to be implemented in Serbia or in the region? And can you tell us, I've heard so many interesting stories around this, if you can share some with us. Thank you.
Yeah, Estonia has elected over the internet last 15 years. The number of participants who actually choose electronic election compared with physical ones. And I have to explain to the US person, it's not voting machine in the corner, it's actually voting from home or from the phone. Like so, it's 50-50 now. It doesn't increase election participation rate. That's an interesting outcome. So you won't get more voters voting every election. But as in overall, the election participation is declining, at least in Europe, it keeps the same. So let's say if you have 65%, it stays 65% through the years. It doesn't go down. So that's one interesting thing. Another interesting thing is that in the beginning, you assume it's more for youngsters, but today we have statistics that elder people use it more than youngsters. Why? Because our elections are mostly in March, and in March, our streets are like the streets outside here, Kopaonik, so you don't want to walk them like so because you basically fell and you break something like so. So that's why elder people do it like at home. What else do you want to know about that? Again, it's math, it's secure. Is Serbia ready for that at the moment? No. You have to build trust into identity and digital services first, and then you can start promoting those kind of solutions. Is it sexy? Yes. Does it give votes to you? Yes. Because like you always have to, I mean, one of the aspects of digitalization is that you have to amuse your audience. You have to come out continuously with new stuff. And even if you come out with new stuff, the people will be never satisfied. I mean, if you go to Estonia, if you ask the Estonians, they will say, our e-tiger is sleeping, nothing sexy is coming out, the country sucks. I mean, that's what you're going to hear. So there is a continuous hunger to get more, but it gives votes.
I'll allow one more question from the audience.
Thank you. My name is Dejan Tork. I'm the CEO of a mobile operator here with Mobile. So as I was the only one raising the hand, how to monetize big data, maybe a short comment how we do it. We basically have a couple of things. One is when we rolled out our mobile network, we used some significant, some data analytics, so very sophisticated to roll the network out cheaper. And on the other hand, we use location-based data. We have a number of projects running for retailers, banks, tourist industry, where we use anonymized data, how to basically understand the customers better, who they are, where they come from, where they go, how long they stay, and so on. So 2 examples of that.
Yeah, also, but it was very important here that the users whose data you used actually, in the end of the day, got money into their bank account. Yes or no?
No, it is us who got
then it's
money
not
in our bank account,
it's not the solution.
Yeah.
Well, in a data market case, we talk about the fact that you use my location data to sell it to the tourist companies and others, and I get money in my bank account. That's the data market we talk about. And that's where, European Union, thanks to GDPR, is quite close, and also India.
That's maybe the next step.
Yeah.
But maybe a comment to Mr. Mali. Mr. Lučić mentioned 5G, and we are prepared, and it's a hot phase, and we're thinking of the investments and everything which is going on. And you mentioned, how government is supporting digitalization. Maybe 3 important inputs. So please, be realistic on the auction prices. So because the less we pay for the auction, the more we can invest. And I'm talking on behalf of 3 of us. Please ensure that there will be access to existing optical infrastructure, since all of these 5G stations will be connected also via fiber then. And third, please ensure that building permits and the process will be easier to obtain, that the network rollout can be fast. Thank you.
This just became public-private dialogue.
No, but this is a very good issue that you raised. It is going to be a very competitive process. I know we hear from the market who else is interested. 5G is critical to us. I mean, without the 5G, you cannot roll into the next phase of the digitalization. So no worries. We are aware of the challenges. The market per se will say what the price is going to be achieved. From your perspective, it's always better to pay less and to have more for the investments. We'll see, but I think successful implementation of the 5G is critical for the continuation of everything that we have talked today about. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, one more.
Zoran Petrović, I'm chairman of Raiffeisen Bank. Just a plea. It's not a question, but a plea to Siniša and to Ana. Basically, the way how you can help us. We don't want anything to you guys. We have money for investment in digital. We are doing it in a different kind of services. What we just want the simple thing. Help us to get rid of bureaucracy. So we are now discussing on the FX law. Help us to deal with it. This is really a pain, a problem for us. Help us also deal with some other regulation which is basically negatively influence on our services. What we want to do, we want to provide to most of our customers services in a digital way. So they are not able basically, they must lose the time in doing banking with us. We just want to save the time for these guys to do some smarter and better things in their lives. On a telco, for a telco guy, you're using data from our credit bureau. Please think about to enrich the data from the credit bureau so we can improve the credit scoring of the citizens in Serbia as well. So it's a two-way street. Thank you.
Well, shall I answer this? First of all, Zoran, thank you very much for your point. I mean, you've seen in the last couple of months we got feedback from NALED, from you guys in MCHAM, things that we are doing well and things that we have not done as yet. The foreign exchange law is probably the most important one that we need to change together with the National Bank of Serbia, and we will. I mean, there is no reason why not to. We also talked about the cryptocurrencies and everything else. I mean, we are opening new chapters as we go along. Fortunately enough, with the public finance now being in order, yes, we can spend time and effort just doing what you're just saying to make sure that we improve the environment even more.
I think it's time to wrap it up. Maybe just to end up with one last question for you, because you raised a lot of awareness. What was the biggest mistake you made during the process of transforming Estonian economy? Just be quick.
there is a whole video in the internet, like, where I list them one by one, like. But and it would, I think, take like 2 or 3 days to explain all the mistakes I made. So the answer is we made a huge amount of them, like many mistakes. One of the problems we had was the fact that in the beginning we copied everything what Sweden and Finland did, because they are, like, Finland is our elder brother, so we copied everything that Finland did. But there was a moment where I actually passed Finland. For example, this real-time economy, like that's a moment where, like, we went over like Finland, or like data is not moving in the same way in Finland like it does in Estonia, etc. So it was nothing, like, nobody to copy anymore. And then you become a pioneer. And if you become a pioneer, in many ways you are like, you get shot. Like, so you make many mistakes. But I think my biggest mistake was, like, once again, digitalization is not the goal. It's a tool. Like, I was not able to, like, transform the silos, so the government enough to understand the fact that they are the owners of their own business. They are the owners of their own data. If the data is not high quality, it's your problem. It's not the CIO problem. It's your problem. Like, you are the owner. You are the king of your castle. So if the castle is full of crap, clean it. Like, if you say that there are remove the like services or bureaucracy, most probably there are like 6 or 7 services they are capable to point out. That's it? 6, 7 services? Like, let's do it. One by one. There is no way, we can throw slogans, but like in the end of the day, let's do the 6 services. And like, let's force them, like, those silos, to actually start becoming the owners of the services. So they rethink all the time how we get more flexible. So today you more talk about going from paper to digital. Actually, you should think about going from paper to seamless. What is seamless service? Seamless service is the baby-born service you have. Like, that's a seamless service. So how can I reach that? So yeah, so I can't point out one. There was many, but the biggest one was not being capable to basically product owners' mentality, product owners' concept, to actually implement that in the Estonian government. That was I think my biggest failure.
Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you. I would like to thank the minister and Vladan for sharing their experiences. I think that we could talk at least 1 more hour like this, and probably there is a lot of questions from others that proves that we did well because we organized this panel. So I would like to thank everybody who participated, and please make the final statement.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this panel. We invite you to join us at the cocktail in the lobby of the hotel. Thank you very much.